Oh, you're good?
All as well.
I wanted to show you something. I wanted to get your...
Religious or political?
Pardon?
Religious or political?
No, political.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
You want that one, yeah? No, religious we don't do. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? You okay? First and foremost, just to introduce the people to you. Your name is Joseph Cohen, yeah?
Yeah.
And you represent the Israeli lobby.
The
Sorry.
Israeli lobby?
Sorry. You are,
No, the Rothschilds.
No. You represent the you have an organization. I forget the name.
Israel Advocacy Movement.
You're the leader of this.
Yeah, I run it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
leader's a bit strong and makes me sound.
No problem.
You guys?
How are you doing, my friend?
Say hello.
Thank you, my friend.
Nice to see you guys. See you on YouTube.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Come down between you guys.
Excellent. Now, Joseph, I want to, first and foremost, I want to say that I have seen your posts about the Tommy Robinson thing, yeah?
Yeah.
So, just to let everyone know, Tommy Robinson came a long time ago and we were trying to moderate the audience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Joseph, out of his fair-minded approach, he said that, he gave us credit. He gave Muhammad, he said my name personally on it. This came to me recently. Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa and Hussein. Yeah, so he said that we were trying to diffuse the situation. So this made me think that, Joseph Cohen has a fair-minded side to him. And I hope that today the fair-minded side will come out, because here's something.
Before we, because you clearly rehearsed this.
No, I thought about this 2 minutes before I came to you.
No, but you're pulling something on your phone.
Yeah, someone showed it to me this morning.
What happens in these conversations is somebody comes with a pre-script. So rather than you come with your pre-script, can we just talk openly? Rather than just go into one maybe specific instance in history, I'm assuming this is going to be Israel, Palestine.
Yeah, no, what it was is, can I just show you? It's just literally small, yeah? Because this is something that's happening at the moment, yeah? So here, this is a minute video, right? As you can see here in the video.
I know the video. So before, it's the video where a Palestinian from Gaza who is approaching the fence is shot. It took place in December. And he's shot, and when he's shot, and it looks at it appears like he's fatally injured.
Yes.
When
the crowd.
Two people in the background cheering. Now, within Judaism, and I don't like talking religion, I like talking politics, because religion is religion, it's faith, it's hard to argue. But politics is very real. And I'm going to actually bring a quote. In the Torah it says, or in the Tanakh it says, we shouldn't rejoice when our enemies fall. So the Israeli position is this person was approaching the fence. I can't remember if it was to plant the bomb. It
was an unarmed guy.
No, okay, you can see a video. The Israeli position is different. Yeah. But I don't want to get caught up on the details. What happened?
No, but that's an important detail.
So the Israelis say he was attempting a terror attack. The Palestinian position is he was unarmed.
Is there any evidence that he's armed?
So there's an open investigation. What I want to say, rather than caught up in the details.
Right, go ahead.
What I wanted to say was, this has actually been, so just for the cameras, when he's shot, two people in the background.
They started celebrating and rejoicing.
Them cheering.
Yes.
And
saying swearing and stuff.
The Israeli society was repulsed by this. It was headline stories.
Excellent.
The IDF has opened an investigation on this. So my thing was, rather than focus on this, because we.
So you condemn this.
So I absolutely, whatever happens, when somebody, even if they are carrying out a terror attack, you should not rejoice when they fall. That's what my religion teaches me.
Okay. So you condemn the IDF on this.
So I explicitly stated.
Yes.
And it's not we don't know who. There's two people in the background.
No, the guy that shot.
No.
He said shoot him.
So there's a guy with the binoculars.
Yes.
There's the guy who's the actual sniper.
Yes.
And there were two people in the background. The IDF has opened up an investigation on this. So I'm saying, I'm very, very pleased.
So those guys that shot, the unarmed civilians.
So you're saying
you condemn them.
Do you know the name of the man?
I don't know the guy.
So this is what I'm saying. How do you know he's unarmed? Because you read that on your news sources. My news sources say
what we saw was that he was unarmed. Because when he was approaching the border.
Sorry, how do you know someone's unarmed? Someone can have a gun.
Because you can visibly see that he has no actual guns on him.
The picture, with the greatest respect, is
it's quite small,
resolution,
but you can see. You can see though.
Okay, let's not code up on the detail. I'm saying, like all of Israeli society, irrespective of what happened, the cheering should never have happened.
Yes,
and if it was an unarmed civilian, then absolutely I would condemn that. I don't know for sure if that is. But what I think is a much more healthy...
Would you agree that... Sorry, no, I'm happy with it. I mean, it's not... We don't need to get caught up on, like you say, the details. But you would say, would you accept that Israel, especially in recent times, has committed these excesses against the civilians, the Palestinian civilians?
I'll give you a real example. Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, 400 people were slaughtered in 1 week in Syria. Barely anybody noticed it in the world.
Okay.
18 on the first night of the first day of the Friday protests in Gaza.
Yeah.
The first Friday, 18 Gazans were killed. 18 Palestinians were killed. 12 of them. My goodness. Okay, I feel like I'm addressing a White House press conference at the moment. So we've got CNN fake news. We've got. There's a lot of camera for those that can't see. There's only like 10 cameras on us. This side's my good side. So what I was saying, Mohammed, is 18 people were killed. 12, all of them were of fighting age. All of them were male. 12 of them, Hamas and Islamic Jihad and Fatah, have mentioned were militants from their organisation.
So you're talking, just to kind of step back here, you're talking about the protests.
Yeah, talking about the protests.
And those protests which were met with the resistance of the IDF, right? And so you're saying from that, this is the official
of the fatalities.
The official statistics is that there were 18 people that were killed.
First day,
fine, no problem.
Friday.
On the first day, okay, fine. Let's take that as a figure, no problem. Yeah. Do you accept that should not have happened in a state that calls itself democratic, and that aims to protect the rights of?
It is not democratic. When was the last election in Gaza?
I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm talking about Israel.
I was like, look, they haven't had elections there in 12 years. We can't call Hamas democratic.
So I'm talking about Israel. So Israel calls itself democratic, which means that protest is one of those emblems for democracy, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So this again. If it was protest, if that was women and children that had been shot,
so long as it's men, it's okay to be killed.
No. What were they doing?
Which one? Who? Protesting. You said it yourself.
What is Hamas called this protest for? And why did Fatah condemn?
The thing is,
okay, so
you've just said that 12 people. Sorry, I apologize. You just said. I'm using your words. I don't want to get caught up in, like you said, the statistics. You said that there were 12 from Hamas and from Islamic Jihad, which that would suggest that were 6 that were not.
No. So six men of fighting age.
Yeah, fine.
Islamic Jihad and Fatah and Hamas didn't claim, but they very easily could be militants.
No problem. But we know that from the history of Hamas and also other Islamic groups like it, that whenever they have an opportunity to claim people on their side, they do so.
That's
right?
not true.
No, it's very true.
That's categorically not true.
Okay.
What's been shown is whenever there is conflicts in Gaza, they will strip military uniforms from Hamas operatives that are killed and dress them in civilian clothes.
Whenever
so
is a
civilian casualties.
Joseph, you're an intelligent man. Whenever is a very generic term. Okay, so we can't say that in every situation where there's been casualties that process has taken place, because that would be an easily falsifiable.
There's evidence that Hamas do this.
Right, okay, no problem. Even if we accept that, right? Yeah. 6 people, let's say, 6 individuals, according to yourself. I don't want to get caught up in the statistics.
Do you know what Fatah said about this?
No, but just to finish off the statement here. 6 individuals who are protesting were killed by the IDF. Do you regret that?
So why were they killed?
So is it? Do you condemn that or not?
No, so I'm asking you, why were they killed? We have to have
because
a conversation.
Because they were protesting.
Just because they were protesting.
Yeah, just like in the Intifadas.
There was 30,000 people protesting. Why weren't 30,000 people killed? What was the difference between these 18 and the other 17 to 30,000?
So hold on.
Depending who's
we said specifically we've got to focus on fatalities. Yeah.
No. So you're saying they were killed for protesting.
Yes.
So I'm responding to that and asking, why were the other 17,000 to 30,000, depending whose numbers you trust?
Nice.
Why were they not killed?
I'll tell you the reason why. Depending on the size and the scale of the protest. Now, if you look at the first and the second Intifadas, the first and the second Intifadas in 1987, the first one, and in the 2000s, the second one, the second Intifadas saw a much higher death rate of Palestinians of over 3,000 or 4,000.
Let me phrase it in a different way.
Right,
really, where were they killed? Where were the 18 people who were killed? Where were they killed?
So you're talking about the border, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the issue?
Okay,
so they should be killed.
Let me quote the Fatah. Let me quote Fatah. Fatah came out and explicitly condemned Hamas. They said Hamas immobilized. Hamas wants 2 things from the protest.
Okay, no problem. I mean, this is aside the question I'm asking.
No, it's not. You can't dictate the terms of the debate.
No problem. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Hamas called a protest because they wanted to breach the fence, yeah?
Okay.
And that's why they've got all the tyres which they're burning, and you can watch the videos of Palestinians trying to cut through the fence and cut through the barbed wire, because the Palestinians Hamas want the fence breach. Now, why do they want armed militants who were shooting on Israeli positions to breach the fence. Why?
Who's armed militants?
So Hamas, your videos.
No. We're not talking about the armed militants here.
No,
Me and you have just said.
We just said that armed militants of Hamas were killed.
No. We said 12 of those were killed, and then now I'm just focusing on 6 lives.
Okay, I'm saying we don't know if they're militants or not.
Okay,
but we're asking where were they killed, and they were killed. They were killed trying to breach Israel's border.
But Joseph, with the greatest of respect, here we're in a forum of free discussion and debate. But it seems like what you're doing, I'm happy that in the beginning, okay, and the people would be a witness to this. In the beginning, you did actually say, you condemned the fact that those people were celebrating the death of that man.
That happened in December. That was nothing to do with these protests.
I understand. You said that you regret that, or you condemned that even, yeah? Then you tried to kind of say that it wasn't the IDF that did it, or people among the IDF.
No, the IDF shot. There were 2 people.
But there were some other people that were doing that, and you were saying that it wasn't the IDF.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying I don't know who they were.
Yeah.
There were 2 of the
so they could have been the IDF.
Yeah. It could have been or could not have been.
Then we talked about the deaths of those individuals in the protest.
Yeah.
The 6 individuals that were killed, and then that were not part of Hamas, according to yourself, not according to me.
No. I've never said that. You're putting words in my mouth. I said Hamas and Islamic Jihad
they claimed
12.
Yeah.
Fatah have claimed some of the ones that Hamas claimed were their militants.
Okay, no problem. And then we said there were 6 that were not in that category. Now, all I want you to do here is I want you to realize something very important, right? For us to be intellectually honest with ourselves and for us to be fair and just like you were when you praised myself and Ali Dawah and these things, I want you to do the same thing. When we talk about not just the history of the first and the second Intifada, I'm not going to go beyond that because we're going to go into the 80s, yeah? The deep 80s.
But again, you're dictating the terms of where the conversation goes. And this is one of the things I really don't like about Speaker's Corner, is you get a big crowd of people and someone dictates the terms of the conversation.
But I was just about to finish the question. Now you can ask me, you're free to ask me whatever question you want, as you have been. But I was just going to say that in those instances, it's very clear that the IDF have been responsible for the excesses, for certain excesses. And they have been responsible for the death of civilians. Now what I'm saying is, that kind of thing, in my opinion, should be condemned very blatantly by people like yourself.
Okay, so
leaders of the
I'll respond.
So you're not going to do that?
When IDF soldiers don't follow protocol and kill civilians,
yes,
they're hauled in front of the Israeli judicial sentence.
Do you reckon that works? Do you reckon that the judiciary in Israel, works in a systematic way so as to ensure the minority status of those Muslim Palestinians living within their own state and those living within the Palestinian territories? Do you think they do that successfully?
So you're saying, I believe that they are the judiciary are incredibly moral. They're always in conflict with the government.
So you think they're moral
always overruling the government?
So why didn't they overrule the government's positions on settlements?
So we're jumping around, but I'm happy to go to settlements. First and foremost, define for the cameras what a settlement is.
So what I understand of settlements is that when you're building infrastructure, and in your case, you're actually, not your personal case, but in the case of the Israeli government, they're building literally land and towns now. I see cities being built on land which is clearly not their land.
Okay, so let's go there. So you're saying not their land. So what is Palestinian land? Define the borders.
The Palestinian territories after 1967. Is that what you're talking about?
You're saying that they're building settlements.
If you want my own personal opinion.
No, for the settlement based on the settlement. So when you're talking about settlements building on someone else's land, what's the borders of the land that they're building on?
We know the borders. According to the UN, they say things like, okay, so we know about Jerusalem that it's an international city, for example, that it doesn't belong to anyone in particular. And then when we talk about the West Bank.
Sorry, where does it say that? Are you talking about the original 1947 partition plan? Which was rejected by both the Israelis and the Palestinians?
No, I'm talking about according to the UN, who does Jerusalem belong to?
So Jerusalem, according to the United, but then I'm answering your border question, so I'll answer that. But I want to know, first of all, what are the Palestinians...
That's part of it.
Okay, so you're saying Jerusalem's an international city, so anyone building in Jerusalem effectively is a settler. So whether that Palestinian or Israeli, they're settlers, yeah? If it's an international city.
So no, I'm saying according to the UN.
Yeah, so
according to the UN, okay, so Jerusalem, Eastern Jerusalem, I'm not sure what the specifics, but I think Eastern Jerusalem has been designated as an international city or something of that sort.
No, okay, so I'll tell you.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but having said that, the borders, there is consensus among anyone who's ever read international law that what's happening in the West Bank is settlement in a land which is does not belong to.
you have to give.
So what in your opinion is Israel? What's Israel?
So I give my opinion what Israel is.
Yes, please go ahead. Does it extend to Egypt and Sinai and Peninsula and beyond?
Nonsense. No.
No. Okay. Because you were talking about I'm just asking you, right? Because you and I both know that from a rabbinical perspective, a lot of rabbis have actually said that Israel is what extends from the Euphrates River to the Nile.
Which rabbi said that?
Many rabbis have said this.
Which one?
I'll send you the links. No problem. I'll send you the links.
Cameras, I'm not aware of any rabbi. What the Torah talks about is the biblical territory.
Yeah, that's the biblical territory.
Between the two rivers.
Rivers, right.
Not the Nile and Euphrates. That's speculation on your part.
Okay, so
we don't know the rivers. We don't know. Some say it's one of the rivers in Sinai. I've forgotten the name of it.
What river in Sinai?
So I've forgotten the name, unfortunately, but not the Nile. It's not the Nile. It's a small
But what
one.
river in Sinai? I don't know what it's called.
Okay, it's not very
the two great rivers.
But anyway,
you've got the Euphrates and you have the Nile.
It doesn't say great rivers. It says the two rivers.
Pardon?
The Tigris and Euphrates?
No, it says not. Anyway, this is a boring thing for people.
No, I'm asking you. What do you see as Israel?
Yeah, exactly.
So is it? Because now I don't want to go beyond 1948 and still talk about the Balfour Declaration because I would just say to you.
The Declaration's got nothing to do with Israel's modern borders. When the
actually, it has everything to do with it.
How?
Okay, when the Balfour Declaration was put
When the Balfour Declaration was written, Britain was not a sovereign power in that region.
What do you mean?
In 1917, Britain was not a sovereign power in that region.
But it was a colonial power.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Britain were awarded the mandate after the Ottoman Empire collapsed.
So you don't consider that colonialism?
Britain took the mandate
in
1921.
That's quite weird, isn't it?
Listen,
that is weird.
Listen. Instead of just you're saying in 1917,
yes,
Britain was a sovereign power over that region. It wasn't.
I didn't say that. I said it was a colonial power.
A colonial power. It wasn't a colonial power either.
So
they didn't get the mandate until 1921.
So hold on.
They weren't a power there.
I know the mandate is something, but the mandate. I start the clock when the first soldiers went into Palestine.
Okay, that
British
was
soldiers.
part of World War I, though, no?
World War. Yeah.
Yeah, they were fighting.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, this is so many tangents. We're going to get
lost.
The
point being is they were a colonial power. Then they handed over land to the immigrants from Europe.
They didn't. Your history is wrong.
Tell me why it's wrong.
Okay, so we'll go through the history very quickly.
Well, let's go back Chaim Weizmann when he talked about Uganda being an alternative.
Chaim Weizmann, no, it wasn't. That was the Uganda plan, which was actually part of Kenya, and it was Herzl. Nothing to do. Anyway,
Weizmann rejected it.
People can fact check.
He rejected one part of it, which is good.
People can fact check this all for themselves on the internet. What I want to say, which is really important, is your history. So Britain, when they wrote the Balfour Declaration, which was that Britain would support a national home in that region, didn't have any territory in that region. Yeah.
But they became a colonial power. At least let's start. No problem. 1924, the British mandate to rule Palestine. No problem.
Can you ask this guy not to heckle, please?
Yeah, don't heckle. 1924. Let's say no issues. Yeah. Let's say 1924. Had it not been.
So Britain were awarded the mandate on the condition they honour the Balfour Declaration.
Okay.
Yeah. What was British Mandatory Palestine? What was its borders? Do you know? The viewers won't know either, so it doesn't matter if you know or don't know.
Don't tell me the answer.
British Mandatory Palestine was Jordan, Israel, Gaza and the West Bank. Yeah?
Yes.
Jordan. Was Jordan part of that?
Jordan was part of British Mandatory Palestine. Britain said they supported a Jewish national home as long as it didn't come at the expense of anyone in that region, yeah? So the first thing...
I fast forwarded to Chaim Weizmann and the Ugandan plan, and you said that it wasn't Chaim Weizmann.
Can I just finish my point?
Yes, go ahead.
So British Mandatory Palestine was divided. 70% of the land was given to the Arabs. The first thing the British did when they took sovereignty...
Do you reckon that's all right?
The first thing the British did when they took sovereignty of the land, when they took ownership of the land or mandate of the land, they gave the largest amount of land possible to the Arabs. The Jews expected...
Yeah, but they based it on population.
The Jews... Yeah, I've got no issue with them doing that. I agree. Okay. Jews were a smaller minority population in the region at the time. Arabs were bigger, so Arabs got the majority of the land. What was left, the Jews anticipated as being the Jewish national home, yeah?
Excellent.
But let me just finish, because you're talking about borders.
But you are talking quite a lot.
Okay, fine.
No problem. Go finish your sentence. I haven't got a problem with you finishing. I think you're used to people just attacking you. I'm not attacking you right now. I'm giving you a chance to say your version of history. No problem.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And so my version of history is the largest amount of land possible was given to the Arabs.
Give them a chance to say
what was left of the land was supposed to be a Jewish homeland. The Arabs who were living there and in the Arab world in general rejected it. Civil war broke out. The British couldn't handle the problem. The British decided, after giving away a load of land to the Arabs, they couldn't control Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, and they gave that to the United Nations. The United Nations then took a vote on what to do, and they voted to partition. Exactly, they voted to partition the land. Britain abstained from the vote. Britain was one of 2 Western nations that refused to vote in the partition vote.
So then you had 1948, the creation of Israel.
Yeah, Britain didn't create Israel. The United Nations voted to recognise it, and then Israel declared independence very quickly. 8 Arab armies invaded.
Yes,
and
yes.
Now we're getting to the border though. You asked me about the borders. This is why it's coming around to. Israel was invaded by 8 Arab armies.
Where's 8? Count them. Count. You have Egypt. No. I'm happy. I'm learning from you. Go ahead.
Okay. So you have Syria.
You can, of course.
Are we having a history lesson?
We are having my history
I don't
lesson.
think the history is relevant in this case. What
But
was,
he-
was, and it's there.
No, it is relevant.
He's asking. We're talking about.
No, but we're coming to it. We're building a case.
The problem is that if one side dropped their weapons, there will be no war. And if the other side dropped this weapon, every single Jewish person in Israel will die.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead.
And I'm saying this because 3 years ago, I was relieved from my service as a soldier in the IDF.
Okay, nice one. So come here if you're a soldier in the IDF. Come and speak to us.
I'm not a soldier anymore.
Well, you were. Come here and let's talk about you being a soldier in the IDF. Come here. You got experience with it. So you got. We have the leader of the Israeli Advocacy Movement, and then you have a former IDF fighter. Yeah.
No, not fighter.
Whatever. You are working with the IDF. Yeah. All right, no problem. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to have you here.
Okay, so for me, she was talking about the history not being relevant. This is why because I've let you speak for about 3 or 4 minutes, right? So what I was going to say to you is that why I personally believe that the history is incredibly relevant. Forget about Israel, like you said for a second. Forget about this whole Zionist thing. Forget about it, yeah? Let's pretend we're in Speaker's Corner in 2100, yeah? What 2100? Or let's say 2080. And let's do a little counterfactual history right now. Yeah. Let's do a little counterfactual history right now, yeah? Let us pretend that the Islamic State, or they call themselves the Islamic State, Daesh, or ISIS, or ISIL, or whatever they are, they were able to establish themselves a state. Let's just pretend for the sake of argument. And now they've got their own infrastructures, they've got their own parliament, they've got this and that and whatever. Someone he's now born into the Islamic State, and now this is fast forward to 2100. Comes over here in Speaker's Corner, and he's making the case for the legitimacy of the Islamic State. He starts saying, look, the Islamic State, expelled the Yazidis and these things, and he starts making excuses and these things. He says, however, what is history doesn't matter anymore, because history of the past doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter.
That's what you did say.
No,
so history doesn't matter anymore.
This argument is irrelevant anymore because
fine. So I'm just saying, if you're, it doesn't matter. So what's your name? Rotem. If your great grandchild spoke to that person's great grandchild, who's saying that the Islamic State is a legitimate state.
I'm tired of burying my family, and the other side is tired of burying their
okay,
family.
no problem.
And in 2008, we offered 94% of the West Bank.
Rotem, I haven't got a problem with what you're saying now. I'm just saying something else. But listen, Rotem, we might be you, right? But I'm just speaking here generally about a specific counterfactual history. I want your opinion on it, right? Your great grandchild or your grandchild or your daughter, she's having a conversation with someone else who's now part of this Islamic State, or they were born in it, yeah, or the Daesh.
If it was 200 years ago, I would say you stay. That's why exactly I don't come to Poland or to Germany and ask the Germans to give back my grandfather's house.
Okay, excellent. So the Islamic State.
But that's not the case in Israel. My family has been in Israel since the Second Temple.
No, that's fine. Now I've understood your point, right? Your point is, so long as you win a country in war.
No, she's not saying that.
It's fine.
She said her family has been there for 2,000 years.
That's fine. That's a fair enough point. If you believe in that, then this is not no problem. I accept. If you believe in that, that's not a problem. What you say then is you don't say I believe in a democratic or a liberal logic. You don't say
She's
that.
not saying that at all.
So-
You're talking about
I'm
the rights
saying
of
I want two
indigenous
states.
people. You're saying the Palestinians are an indigenous people. Yeah, that's what most Muslims will say. Yeah, she's saying that Jews,
So go
Jews
ahead.
are also indigenous to that land. I've got a friend, a very close friend of
What
mine.
are we going back to? What historical
No,
period?
I've got a friend of mine from Gaza. They lived there continuously until 48 when the Egyptians kicked them out.
Egyptians.
The Egyptians kicked them out in 1948. Yeah, when the
Oh,
Egyptians
okay,
conquered
okay.
Gaza.
I thought you were talking all the way back to the
Oh, no,
ancient
no, not
Egyptians,
fair,
because I know
not
you
fair.
guys. I know you guys do that.
That was different religion,
Go ahead,
different
go ahead.
people.
Different rulers, but no, the Egyptians kicked them out, yeah, and they had to go and do it wider Israel. All we're saying is, she said she supports a two-state solution, so she supports the potential for a Palestinian state, yeah? Why?
Is that what you support as well?
So I'll be absolutely honest. I used to be 100% for a two-state solution.
What do you support now?
Now I have, whether it's a one-state, two-state, 29-state, I just want peace. And whatever's going to bring
Okay.
peace about, that's what I support.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I
Okay,
come from a
good. Okay,
family
that's an
that
easy thing to
died-
say. I hope.
No,
I hope
it's
peace
not.
can
I
be.
come
And I'll
from a
keep-
family that buried their son. I need to every year I visit my
What, a Muslim
my,
family or?
a Jewish family, and
Oh,
I
okay.
have Muslim friends that buried their family as well. I go to my dad's grave, my uncle's graves, my friends' graves every single year,
Okay.
and I am tired of burying my family.
Okay, fine.
We are sick and tired of it.
But
We tried
with
making-
respect, Rotem, with respect. Like if we could, sorry, if we
I
could.
agree with you. There are families that lost their dear ones on the other side as well. And
No, it's
we
not.
need
It's not.
it to
You've made.
stop.
Sorry, with Rotem.
Yes.
With the greatest of respect, you've made the Palestinian casualty respective to the Israeli casualty the exception and not the rule. The rule is the Palestinian casualty, and the exception is the Israeli your casualty. If you look at the amount of casualties in the two intifadas, there were of an excess of 10,000 people in two of those
You want to talk
intifadas.
about the casualties that the German experienced in the Second World War.
That's nothing to do with. It's nothing to do with the Muslims.
No, but if
or the
one side
Palestinians.
attacks the other, then if the other side is stronger, the casualties on the
So
other
what's
side will
World War
probably
II and Hitler got to do with the Palestinian experience?
Okay, let's just say Hitler was bad, right?
Yes,
He attacked England, right?
Israel.
He attacked England.
Who?
He attacked England, right?
England. Okay, yeah.
I'm right? I'm correct?
Yeah, all right.
Sorry, my English is not as good. as
No,
yours.
it's good. Go ahead.
England fought back, right?
Okay.
I'm correct. So
Yeah,
what?
yeah, all right.
Killed a lot of Germans, right?
Killed a lot of.
Germans, England.
Yeah,
right?
okay, yeah.
Germans also killed a lot of English,
Yes.
but England killed more Germans than English, right?
England killed.
More Germans than the. Germans
I haven't looked at
killed
the stats. I haven't looked at the stats.
More or less.
Maybe, yeah, probably. I don't know. Yeah, go on.
Some innocent died, right?
Some innocent.
Yeah, from both sides,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But still, Brits killed more Germans because the Germans attacked, right?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Now I feel sorry for every single person that was born in Gaza. They live horrible lives.
Okay,
with
good.
horrible government and corrupt government.
What government are
And
we
I
talking
do-
about?
but
The Israeli
say-
one.
No,
Hamas.
the
12
Hamas.
years there haven't been an election. there.
So do you reckon that? Do you actually
Let me
believe
just
that the
finish.
Israeli government?
Let me just finish.
Okay, sorry, go.
Okay. I was in Beersheba when we signed a ceasefire, and then 10 minutes later there were 14 rockets fired at me.
Okay.
If one side
Those
dropped
little rockets
its
are
weapon-
fireworks,
if
and
Israel
what are you
There's
talking
dropped
about?
its
fireworks that kill
weapon-
people.
How many people have they killed
It
compared
was
to the
not
Israeli ones?
fireworks, honey. I was there. I saw the fireworks next to me.
They're small rockets. They are small rockets. They're
There's
handmade
rockets
rockets.
that kill people.
This is the disgrace of the conversation.
No, it
because
isn't.
you belittle Jewish suffering, Israeli Arab and
It's
Jewish
not
and
even
No,
the
I haven't
suffering
belittled
part.
it.
It's if Israel
I've just said
dropped
that
its
the
weapons,
rockets
we
are not
will all die.
comparable.
And if
When you-
Gaza stopped fighting
when you've
and
got-
wanted to
when you've
talk,
got-
the war will be over.
What we're talking about is a disparity in the military capabilities of two places.
We're not, because you make the mistake. You think it's just Israel and Palestinians. It's Israel, Iran, Syria. You've got major.
But do you reckon
that's
Syria
not-
and Iran are involved
It's
now?
an Israeli-Arab conflict.
Do you
You've
reckon-
been outgunned and outnumbered.
It depends on
I'm
when you're
not
talking
even
about. You're talking about in the recent
military.
period.
I'm talking about the fact that
She's talking about her life.
Who
right?
gives-
Who
who gives
defines
Hamas the
terror
weapons
attacks
they
I don't
use?
think
today? What do you
she was
want
there
me to
94
do?
years.
Who gave Hamas the weapons that they fired at her?
Pardon?
Who gave Hamas the weapons that they fired at
Let's leave
her?
other countries
So
aside.
at first,
Iran.
are you
It's
talking
Iran.
about Syria and Iran? But not anymore.
What is your name?
Not anymore.
What is your
Mohammed,
name?
Mohammed.
Mohammed, nice to meet you.
No. Nice to meet you. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Let's not
Go
talk
on.
about other countries for a second. Okay? Let's talk about Israel and Palestine. Okay? Not Iran, no
We
America.
will
just
not do
us.
embarrass
Iran and Syria are not funding
them be
Hamas now
friends.
either.
Do not
Do you know who was funding Hamas in 1980?
So this is a
No. Do you know who was funding Hamas in
You're
the
gonna say the
1980s?
Israeli government,
Yeah, the Israeli
yeah?
government was
Yeah,
funding
Can
them.
you show us the evidence?
May I
Right,
for a second?
she accepts the evidence. Do
May
you
I
know
for
the
a second?
reason why they were funding them?
Mohammed, may I
Come on.
for a second?
No, you tell us.
Because they saw the PLO as the biggest threat. You see,
Why is that funny?
I find it. Look,
why is that funny?
let me find that interesting. Let me tell you why I find that really interesting, right? I find this stuff incredibly interesting because, you know, depending upon the particular time period, the narrative changes. In the 1980s, you were more concerned with Arab nationalism than you were with Islamism. So now, it has to be the bad Arab, and today it has to be the bad Muslim. So the idea is this, the Israeli government, no, I'm not saying that they're not bad. No, we do condemn the actions that they do, of course, yeah? Like blowing themselves up in these things. I don't accept that stuff. But what I'm saying to you is...
They're making people work to
But
build
what I'm
homes.
saying to you, generally speaking, is that the Israeli government has not been consistent in its policies, morally consistent. It's only been strategically consistent, in the sense that it only funds those parties which it sees is beneficial to its own cause.
What
The
is
1980s...
and what if England does?
Yeah, no problem.
This conversation just jumps from thing to thing. Can we just get